Mike Owens with Inside Fighting here. Today I'm joined by the main man, Brad Tavares, who returns to action next month. Brad, always a pleasure, my man. How are things with you today?
Thank, thank you for having me, brother.
How were your emotions ahead of your return?
Good. As you know, you're well aware of what happened the last time, July 20th. We were scheduled to fight, and right after I stepped off the scale, maybe about 5 minutes, I got the call from Ali, my manager, letting me know that the fight was off. And then, so going from there, it was just a little bit of a mental roller coaster, like what to expect, what's next, the uncertainty of things. They asked me if I was ready to fight August 10th. I said, yeah, sooner the better. Unfortunately, my opponent turned that down. And so I was thinking, okay, we'll fight later in August. So they just had me waiting. And next thing you know, they're like, okay, October 12th. And I'm like, October 12th? Like, that's a whole another full camp.
Hmm.
So yeah, it is what it is, right? And here we are now, a couple weeks out from the fight.
When did you roughly sign the contract for the first fight? You
Man.
remember?
So probably I fought in February. So April, May, somewhere around April or May, I would assume. And
So you've been
then we're
training for
supposed
the
to,
same guy for 4 or 5 months.
oh yeah, it's been forever. Like basically done two full fight camps for the same opponent, which I guess that in itself is good. Like nothing really changes as far as game plan, strategy, the things we're working on. So, yeah, I guess that's the positive to it. But yeah, it's been a long, long camp.
I suppose that yourself and Coach Eric and the rest of the team have already devised a game plan for the first date. So then when you have all this extra time, is it a case of just building extra skills and almost keeping that game plan that you already had for the original
Yeah,
date?
we already had the game plan in place. We're already supposed to fight this guy in July. Everything that camp went well. Everything went well. Weight cut went well. So now it's all about just carrying that over. And honestly, at this point, it's about just staying injury free, staying healthy, and just keeping the mind sharp. I feel like a lot of times in a situation like this, I could see people getting like almost like mentally letting themselves
Mm.
relax or ease up, but it's about staying focused mentally.
I was about to ask you about that because I've spent obviously a lot of time around fighters, especially post weigh-in and obviously on fight day. And being a reporter or a kind of guy on the other side, I do notice when you guys change and when you change from lovely, friendly Brad into war mode Tavares, if you will. So
Yeah.
was that a difficult moment for you to be, have weighed in, have gone through the fight before the fighters, as people say, and then not kind of reap the rewards of being able to fight on the Saturday?
Oh, 100%, 100%. It's one of those things like the fight is not even like the fight is the fun part of it, right?
Mm.
The hardest part and the most anxiety leading up into everything on fight week is the weight cut. And even though I'm a professional and I've cut weight multiple times, have made weight, knock on wood, every single time, it's still you always, even though I know I'm gonna do it, that anxiety lingers in the back of your head, like, oh, what if the weight doesn't come off? What if I don't make it this, that, and whatever? And then when you finally make the weight, it's relief. And then for something like that to happen, again, first time it's ever happened to me in my career, for something like that to happen, it's just an emotional and mental roller coaster. And then it's just about wondering, okay, what's next then? What's next? Like, what do we do from here?
We'll be back to the video in just a second, but first, I got to remind you the NFL season is in full swing, and Inside Fighting has partnered up with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, to bring you an amazing offer. And right now, if you go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, new customers who bet $5 will receive $200 in bonus bets just by using promo code Inside Fighting.
Did the contract ever come through to fight Dan Ige? Because I do know that he threw his hat in the ring to fight you
You
on
know,
3 or 4 hours notice.
he showed up at my house to fight. Dan down for whatever.
Mm.
But yeah, it was we were always pretty set that we are gonna fight this guy. Honestly, we didn't think that something as simple as a staph infection was going to have him out for an additional 3 months or however long it was, couple months. But yeah, here we find ourselves, and now we're a couple weeks out from the fight, and just hoping and praying to God that this does not happen again.
How do you like the matchup?
I love the matchup. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to keep this fight, keep the opponent, and not just like a Dan Ige situation and find somebody else short notice.
Who's going to be in your corner? Because I've saw that Coach Eric is over in, I think he's in Paris helping Francis
Yeah,
with his big fight. So who's going to be in the team in the corner?
yeah, it'll be the same. He's in Paris right now. He'll be back soon. We'll pick up, and then he leaves. I want to say he might leave the very next day after my fight to go to where are they? Not Abu Dhabi,
Riyadh.
Dubai, or yeah, Riyadh. Yes, Riyadh for Francis's fight, and then right next door to Abu Dhabi for Dan's fight.
Do you think there's anybody in MMA this year who's done more air miles than Coach Eric? I feel like he's
Um,
here, there, and everywhere every weekend.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, he is. Um, Probably. I mean, honestly, like I would say, nah, yeah, for sure. I would say like the people that work on the shows, that staff, like
Mm.
I got one of our close family friends. She does like VIP hosting and whatnot for the UFC, and every single fight card, wherever it is, they're there. So if it's in France, they're in France. In Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Mexico, Brazil, wherever it is, Singapore, they're there. So they're traveling year round.
I obviously had the pleasure of watching you fight live in Boston. That was my first UFC event, and I always remember the catch up that we had in your hotel room.
Yeah.
Is there a venue or a place that you haven't fought in your career that's kind of the one you want to tick off the bucket list?
Um, you know what? Honestly, I haven't really thought about that too much. But there's a few. If they ever do an Allegiant Stadium card,
Mm.
I 100% want in on that. I know you don't probably follow American sports so much, but I'm a diehard Raiders fan.
I caught a
Um,
Raiders cap when I was in Vegas, so I am technically a Raiders fan.
there we go. Love it. Welcome to Raider Nation. But yeah, as you know, that's the Raiders Stadium. I would love to take part, in a fight there. I've been to a few events there, concerts, and to every Raiders game so far. And I've felt like what that energy in there can feel like. And then the only other one I would want, which I know is not going to happen in my uh, lifetime or my career in the UFC, I know this is a UFC Hawaii fight, and I don't care where they do it. I don't care if they did it at a park, at the Blaisdell, wherever, Stan Sheriff, it doesn't matter. But that's probably the only ones that come to mind.
There's probably enough for a five-fight main card at the moment, though. When we've got Max, we have yourself, we have Dan. We can maybe get
Dude,
Yancy Medeiros back. We could get the
you know
team back.
this is something that we've talked about for years, but I've just come to the realization it ain't ever gonna happen. And
Why?
not
Why
not
is
not
that?
in
Is that
my
infrastructure, or is that just the UFC just don't seem keen?
you know what, I used to think that before it was on Hawaii's end. I used to think that, like they were charging too much, and I know it's expensive to go to Hawaii, but I've
Mm.
seen them go all the way to Brazil and put on fight nights in literal like gymnasiums in Brazil. And I'm like, that kind of be cheap,
Mm.
to take everything down there to Brazil, a whole team, all the equipment, this, that, and the other. So then I was like, okay, they could do it to Hawaii. And then I thought, okay, maybe it's on Hawaii's end. But then a couple years back, when it was really close to getting done, I remember the UFC wanted more money than the state was willing to pay for them to come there. So yeah, I guess for them, if it don't make money, it don't make sense.
100%. Speaking of big fights on the road, there's a big fight on Saturday night in your division between Brendan Allen and Nasruddin Imavov. How do you see that one playing out between, I think it's number 4 and number 8, if memory serves?
Who's number 4 and who's number 8? I don't even really
Imavov's
follow.
4, Allen's 8.
Imavov's 4 and Allen's 8. I'm not too sure. You know, on paper, I would think stylistically that Imavov would probably be ahead, and he would win that fight. But Brendan Allen, I feel like he's one of those guys, almost like a Dricus. Like he'll win when you don't expect him to win. But we'll see. Hopefully, it's a good fight for the fans.
I imagine they're the type of fights that you want to get back to with a big win next month.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would love. I was supposed to fight Brendan Allen a few years back, and unfortunately, I got injured and I couldn't make it to the fight. I would love to get that one back. But yeah, there's like I said, I've been stuck on this guy Park for months now, literally. So my focus is still on him, and once I defeat him, then we'll go to the board from there and look what's next.
I remember actually, funny enough, mentioning Boston. I remember Eric saying when we spoke to him in Boston that when people don't your resume is kind of one of the most underestimated or underappreciated in the sport. When we look at everybody that you've fought and the people that you've either won or just spent time in the cage with, what space do you feel like you occupy in the middleweight division at this stage of your career?
I mean, I have no I'm not delusional about it. I know I'm getting older and definitely towards the tail end of my career. So that I know. And as you get older, of course, everybody wants to bring up the retirement, this and that. And for me, that will come when one, I'm physically just not the same. But ask anybody in the gym. Physically, I'm still exactly the same person, and I still feel like I'm actually, getting better. And the other thing is when you lose that drive. But what I would say is, I still know that I am one of the best in this division. I fought the who's who. I've been in there, gone 5 rounds with Israel, who's one of the best middleweights to ever do it. So I know, and the people that I train with and my coaches, they know as well, that I'm still and always have been for a long time one of the best, in this division.
I have to ask you about the title fight from last month because obviously that's two guys that you spent time in the cage with. You were kind of the first guy. I think you're the first guy to take Dricus to a decision in the UFC and kind of have a competitive fight with him. And he's obviously gone on to do great things past that. Did the result at UFC 305 between Israel and Dricus to surprise you at all?
Um, yes and no, yes and no. So in the lead up to that fight, I said that on paper, you I think that Israel is going to win that fight. But like what I just said about him a few minutes ago, Dricus is one of those guys that he'll keep surprising you. He'll win when you don't think he should or he's not supposed to. He finds a way to win, which is what he's where he is because of that. You know, um, watching that fight, I really thought, okay, it's starting to go downhill for Dricus, and is he starting to really take over, find his range? He looked great, and then Dricus pulled it out. So again, like yeah, yes and no. It's like it's one of the things. Like I said it on a few podcasts prior to. I was like, yeah, don't. Nobody should be surprised if Dricus wins this fight because that's what he's been doing his entire time. Is beating guys that nobody gives him a chance to beat.
That ability to kind of either ride a storm or come from behind or just find a way to win, in your opinion, is that a physical or a mental thing? Where does the advantage lie, do you think?
I think it's mental because all your physical comes from your mental, from your heart and from your mind. If you can push your body to those limits and past it, that it comes from it's all in there and in your heart. So that's 100% comes from that. And then the physical is just your mind and your heart telling your body what to do.
You think your boy Strickland gets the next shot at the title, or do you think Whittaker and the winner of Whittaker and Chimaev, could put put
Nah,
a
I think
spoiler on
I,
that?
I think Sean should get it, especially because me, Dana White, and a bunch of the rest of the world thought that Sean won that fight against Dricus, and they gave it to Dricus. So 100%, like if the president of the organization feels like, and I get it, it's a business and they want to make money, yada yada. But if the president of the organization feels that that was the wrong decision, like to me, that should be an immediate rematch. You know what I mean? Like that should be an immediate rematch. But they didn't do it. Dricus went on to beat Izzy. Sean went on and won some fights. And yeah, 100%. I think that the fight that they should do now is Dricus and Sean too, and then Chimaev and Whittaker still got to fight, and who knows if that fight even comes through, right?
That's the problem.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to be waiting. They should schedule Dricus and Sean. Winner of that faces the winner of Chimaev and Whittaker. That's the next. That's the next title fight. That's what I
If
would do.
if that fight does happen at 308, how do you see it playing out between Robin and Khamzat? Because as much as there's been so many strengths seen in Khamzat, there's also so many questions.
How much rounds is that fight? Is that a 5 rounder or is this just
I'm
three?
not 100%, but I think it's three.
Okay, if it's three, then I would say that's a little better for Chimaev. But even in a 3 rounder, like we've seen, like him start to slow down against Gilbert. And again, that was a cut to 70, so who knows how that affects him. Um, but yeah, it's one of those that, like again, I wouldn't be surprised if Chimaev wins. But I feel like Rob will win.
The last question from me, Brad, and thank you so much for your time as always. You can be as
No problem,
brief or as
brother.
detailed. Thank you. You can be as brief or as detailed as you like. Give me a walkthrough of your perfect fight day as you envisage it. So on October 12th, in a perfect world, what happens from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night?
Okay. On fight day, so like
On
I
fight
wake
day
up on
itself.
fight day.
On fight day itself.
My hope would be that I got a beautiful long night's rest. I'm refreshed. I wake up feeling energetic. And yeah, just got a great night's rest. I'm recovered. Obviously, I've been drinking water the day before and eating, so I should be replenished. Get a good meal in. Hopefully, as soon as I wake up, I gotta take a crap and yeah, just chill the rest of the day. Relax and head down there to that fight. Get wrapped up, warm up, all of that, and go out there and just smash this guy. And whether that's in round one, round two, or all 3 rounds, as long as I'm getting my hand raised, that's a perfect day for me.
I love it. Well, Brad, always good catching up, my man. Thank you so much for your time and look forward to seeing you back in action next month.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.